If you thought the war in Syria was coming to an end, think again. This was the scene this morning in Idlib province in the northwest of the country. Turkish forces bombarding Syrian government positions from the ground and from the air. This was retaliation by Turkey after 33 of its soldiers were killed in an airstrike, the largest death toll suffered by the Turkish military in a single attack since the 1990s. Turkey blamed the attack on Syria, even though Russian warplanes have been active in the region. Russia's defense minister claimed the Turkish troops were in the wrong area and had not informed them of their location. Idlib province is the last remaining stronghold of rebel forces, including some jihadi groups. And Turkey came to their aid after Syrian and Russian forces launched a new offensive in December. Almost 1 million people have left their homes, creating what the UN says could be the worst humanitarian crisis since the war began. The fear now is that the conflict could escalate, and this morning NATO ambassadors met and condemned the Syrian and Russian offensive.
Well, of what is happening in terms of refugees within Turkey. Are the borders being opened?
Yesterday, an official, a Turkish official, anonymous Turkish official, spoke to Reuters news agency. He or she said that they are not stopping anymore the refugees who want to cross Europe. But today we saw some refugees, not necessarily all Syrians, trying to cross Greek islands in the Aegean Sea. We saw them on the boats. We actually watched them live on TV channels, on Turkish TV channels, for hours since the morning. Officials to the border, or if they actually wanted to go to Europe, because they have a life in Turkey now, because it has been years they build up a new life. But we know if they try to go to Greece, Greek islands, they will be stuck in these islands for months.
Payback. In Syria today, the Turkish military were hitting hard, striking more than 200 Syrian government targets. Retaliation for yesterday's killing of 33 Turkish troops. At the scene today in Idlib province, resting in the dirt, the uniform of one of Turkey's fallen soldiers show the impact of the massive airstrikes. Turkey has blamed the Assad regime, but Moscow, Syria's ally, controls the airspace. And this is what Western leaders may be most worried about: refugees heading from Turkey to Europe. Already today, a trickle. Since word went out here, the authorities would no longer try to stop them. They are Turkey's leverage with the international community. In Istanbul today, a clamour to board a bus for the border. In the past, refugees would have been refused. Not today. Hassan from Syria is hoping to get his family to Belgium. It's too late for us, he said. We are leaving now for the sake of our children. Turkey hopes they and others like them can be its passport to international help with Idlib.
Yeah, that's right. Greece responded immediately to the movement of people inside Turkey by closing the border, the land border between the two countries. I'm standing at one of the closed border crossings now, but it doesn't appear to be entirely watertight, certainly. As we arrived in the area this evening, on a number of occasions on the roads near this border area, we came across groups of Afghan refugees who we spoke to. They said that they had crossed the border today, not obviously at the official crossing points, but at illegal land crossing points. It's a reminder, really, that if Turkey really does want to move on the nearly 4 million people it hosts on its soil, that it's going to be extremely difficult for Greece and for the European Union to stop them. As I speak to you this evening, there are several hundred refugees, people who were encouraged into no man's land in that area behind me, a couple of 100 meters away. They are spending a miserable night in no man's land, encouraged in there by the Turkish authorities, but being blocked from getting out on this side by the Greeks. So this crisis may be entering a very, very difficult new phase.
Many times the Turkish government has threatened to open its borders and release the refugees into Europe in large numbers once again. This, perhaps, is a taste of what might still come. This was the scene on the shores of the Greek island of Lesbos, already a nightmarish place for the tens of thousands of men, women and children who'd come over from Turkey and who are now trapped there. In itself, a dinghy arriving isn't any different from any other day, but the implication was that the Turkish authorities didn't try to stop it. In the same way, the route was being cleared for refugees much further north, on the land border with Greece. There were reports of people being bussed from Istanbul to the border town of Edirne, a haven for people traffickers, and unlike in recent months, the Turkish military did absolutely nothing to stop people then making their own way on foot towards the wide Evros River, the border with Greece. The immediate response from the Greek side was to tear gas the several hundred people who had gathered right on the border, with politicians warning loudly that Greece was closed to this new wave. Athens also sent more special forces to the border to try to prevent people coming across. The general supposition is that Turkey is threatening to manipulate the refugee flows as a direct threat to the European Union to re-engage with the situation in Syria and the humanitarian crisis that has engulfed people in Idlib.
At their borders with Turkey, and thousands of migrants are now stuck in no man's land between the two sides. Turkish officials announced they would no longer stop migrants from crossing into Europe after dozens of Turkish troops were killed in a Syrian government airstrike in Idlib province.
I came here to enter Yunan, but as you see the situation, we cannot go inside. They don't let us go inside. They fired on us tear gases. We had children there, we had women there, we had disabled persons there, and they fired tear gas on them. We have injured people right now here, and I don't know why they're doing this. We don't have peace in our own country. We don't have future in our own country. That's why we came here to make a life, make a new life, but they don't let us enter.